Hello world, welcome back to Razor RC. Today we're doing a full review of the Schumacher Storm ST. This is a brand new electric two-wheel drive stadium truck from Schumacher, which is a company based out of the UK. They've been making race RC cars for a really long time, especially on the on-road side, the two-wheel drive buggy and four-wheel drive buggy side, but they finally came out with a stadium truck, which they haven't had for about 20 years. So this is really exciting times if you're a stadium truck fan like me. So I just wanted to share my thoughts and do a full review of this vehicle. Now, I picked mine up from discountrcstore.com, pretty much the best place in the US to buy Schumacher stuff because they just have the most inventory. Like every Schumacher part you want to get is pretty much carried by them. Not always something you'll find at other stores. So your local hobby shop probably is not going to have stuff. So definitely check them out to pick up all your Schumacher stuff. And orders $49 or higher are free. They get to me in like 2 days, so fast free shipping, always a great thing. Now, in my particular vehicle, we'll kind of take a look at the electronics. We're running a Hobbywing XR10 stock spec ESC, RX 462 receiver from Sanwa, Gen Z 6000 milliamp Redline battery, pretty much their brand new race battery that they've been carrying for about a few months or so, but this is their high capacity one, 6000 milliamps, lithium high voltage as well. And then Team Power's Actinium 13.5 V3 motor. So this basically sets up as a spec vehicle, 13.5 two-wheel drive stadium truck. So I'm going to be reviewing this in a bunch of different categories. You know what they are. 6 or 7 different categories, giving it a rating from 1 to 5 stars. And that's basically as compared to other stadium trucks on the market today. So competitors of this are going to be the Team Associated T6.1. They are coming out with the T6.2 pretty soon, I think in the next couple of weeks. TLR 22T 4.0, the X-Ray XT2, the Yokomo YZ2T, Kyosho I guess still has a stadium truck, the RT6. But yeah, this is basically the latest and newest stadium truck on the market today. And yeah, I'm pretty excited because my local track is carpet, and Schumacher is known for making really good carpet and AstroTurf vehicles. So let's get into the review and talk about the different categories. First off is the build, and the Storm is pretty much based off the same design as the Cougar Laydown. Pretty much if you know how to build a Cougar Laydown, it's going to build almost exactly the same. For the most part, everything went together pretty well. All the machine parts are really nice. All the parts are basically off of parts trees in bags. A couple pieces are still on trees, but for the most part, everything is bagged, so you don't really have to spend all your time trimming and cutting stuff. Things I like about the build, the pre-built CVA, so they have these really nice sort of bronzed, brownish steel CVAs in the back. They're already all assembled. You just have to grease them, but other than that, they're put together really well. The ball cups fit together really nicely, easy to thread on, no issues there. All the parts generally fit together pretty well, especially the machine parts. So all the aluminum parts, the S2 composite material stuff they use like on the shock towers, the aluminum pieces, steel pieces, all fit together pretty well. 2 issues I did have. One was that I was missing a bearing in the front hub, so one of the bearings was basically replaced with the wrong bearing, so I did pick one of those up at my local hobby shop, and then Schumacher also sent me one as well, so really nice of them to do that. And then the other issue I had is pretty much this front hinge pin brace you're going to have to like trim. There's always extra flashing on this bottom piece, so pretty much every Cougar Laydown has that same thing. The mold's just maybe a hair off, but you want to make sure that's shaved down and your arms are moving up and down nice and free. But other than that, yeah, the build went together pretty well. There are some weird things to watch out for, like these hinge pins kind of just thread into the arms and stuff. The ones in the back, you actually have like a little slot. You have to make sure they line up correctly. But other than that, I think everything went together pretty well. So overall, build-wise, I'm going to give it a 3. It does come with wheels in the box. You do have to cut the body, although the body is, pretty nice overall. Do have to cut the wing. Most parts are off part specs, but I did have that issue with the bearing. I did have to shave down the hinge pin stuff. Some of the parts fit together slightly differently if you're not used to Schumacher builds. But so overall, the build, I'm going to give it a 3. Kind of average. Nothing really good, nothing really bad about it, but overall, kind of average. Okay, moving on to the design of the Schumacher Storm. This is pretty much based off the Cougar Laydown. It even uses the exact same chassis, the full-size Cougar laydown chassis, although they do make a -5 chassis, which I assume would also fit. I think the rails, everything are the same. The front end, pretty much the same. They did change the front camber block a little bit, but yeah, a lot of compatible parts. Different shock towers. They did update what they call the yokes or the spindle carriers here in the front to add a little more durability. Arms are obviously different, and sway bars are different in the front end. So back end is fairly similar. They made some changes to the rear camera block, not totally sure, but the transmission case pretty much fits all the same way. Has that nice split transmission, so you can basically get out that gear diff as you want with like 4 or 5 screws. Pretty easy to service. So overall, a very easy vehicle to work on. We'll kind of take a look at it from front to back. It's got that funky little sort of angled servo that Schumachers are known for. They do have funky shocks with the tapered springs. Not a big fan of that. It does come with 2-piece shock caps, although I replaced them for aluminum ones that I had lying around. Adjustable body post with a lot of different positions, kind of like a touring car. You gotta like trim it down to size. I think these are like 1/8 inch turnbuckles. Rod ends are a little old school style, you know, a little bit on the small side. They do have that easy access hole, which is always really nice. Other turnbuckles have sort of this captured design, which, you know, you got to be a little bit careful. The ones here on the front have a special like steel washer on the bottom. You always have to match with the steel top, and then aluminum washers underneath to actually get your spacing, but they pretty much only rotate in one plane, so you want to make sure those are lined up straight so that you don't have any extra binding or anything like that. Front end is all plastic here in the front, so the chassis kind of ends right there, and then they got this whole plastic front piece. Kind of old school style again, I think, a little bit. Space for a weight up front underneath the servo. Also has an ESC plate. I'm running the brass one in the front, but comes with I think a carbon fiber piece, if I remember, out of the box. This is what their battery straps look like. So 2-piece battery strap with little thumb screws you got to remove to get access to the batteries. Transmission wise, you got the laydown transmission, of course. It does come with a steel spur, steel top shaft, which not a big fan of. If you're running any sort of spec class, you definitely want to get the titanium one like I got here. Not super expensive. I think it's like $15 or $18. Yeah, definitely something you want to pick up because it drops like 5-6 grams off of rotating mass right there. So definitely a good pickup for any sort of stock or spec racing. Slipper pad is this 2-pad design with a nice drilled spiral cut slipper plates. So they also have a 3-plate option if you want a little more engagement, but for spec class, obviously you would want to run the 2-piece. Gear diff in the rear with a plastic housing. Not the best gear diff. It uses an O-ring to seal, which you can get to be leak free, but it takes a little extra work and a little extra finesse to get that working. In the rear, I added sway bars, pretty much compatible with the Cougar laydown sway bar, so you can always just pick that piece up. Nice CVAs, kind of a lightweight design because they're not like a full cup here on the axle, but you know, sort of trimmed a little bit for a little less weight. And then you got the S2 pieces on the shock towers. So rather than carbon fiber, they use S2, which I guess is some sort of fiberglass or carbon composite or something like that. Kind of the signature Schumacher material. They also use it here on the battery straps. So yeah, kind of a quick look at how the truck actually looks. Aluminum hexes front and rear, so that's pretty nice. Or, I'm sorry, steel axles up front, aluminum in the back with kind of this O-ring style capture. But yeah, that's pretty much what the Schumacher Storm looks like. So pros of the design, pretty much same as the Cougar laydown. This thing actually drives a little more like a buggy than I'm used to. I've also owned the T6.1 and the 22T 4.0, and those drive a little bit differently than this, although I have not driven those on carpet, and obviously this I've only driven on carpet and not on dirt. Nice little improvements. So the updated camber blocks, that was always kind of a weak point on the Cougar laydown. Different camber block. It comes with an S2 one, which I replaced to aluminum, and I'll explain why later. But yeah, so pretty good design overall. It does have the updated machine Delrin gear, split transmission. So yeah, if you're a fan of the Schumacher Cougar, then this is pretty much going to be right up your alley because Very, very similar design, not a whole lot of changes, and pretty much a lot of the parts that will fit on your Cougar will fit straight onto the Storm. Now, things I did not like, I already mentioned the steel top shaft. Would have liked to see an aluminum one or the titanium one, but yeah, steel top shaft. I can't remember. I don't think I've ever had a vehicle with a steel top shaft, so that thing I wasn't a big fan of. Turnbuckles seem a little skinny to me. Like the TLR uses like 3.5 millimeter turnbuckle. This is 1/8 inch, so quite a bit thinner and kind of wimpy looking ball cups here on the end. I did have one of these pop off once, or actually a couple times, I think, when I crashed into something hard, but I did not actually break the turnbuckle, so I can't say that's really a weakness. It's just something that looks a little undersized to me. The other thing that was funny is that this does not have all the latest Cougar laydown improvements. So like the hinge pins still thread in basically into the arms, kind of like a Traxxas Rustler or Bandit or something like that. I think the newer ones have like a little set screw and a flat piece to hold them in place. But yeah, these threaded hinge pins are a little bit weird. I actually reversed them on the right hand side because they would tend to back out on their own. Yeah, the other thing that was weird is like the ball studs here in the back. I upgraded them to the 4.8 millimeter ball studs here in the back, but the stock piece is like a skinny little one. They don't have an example here on the vehicle, but yeah, kind of like a small little ball stud like you would have here on the actual steering arm. So yeah, not the latest Cougar laydown I believe has upsized ball studs, but this one did not. So a little bit weird that they didn't include all the latest improvements for the durability. Not sure why. Maybe this was already being designed in progress before that got released, but yeah, kind of a weird thing. Also not a big fan of Schumacher shocks in general. They use a weird spring that's kind of tapered, like the the spring cup here on the bottom is like smaller than the spring up top. Two-piece shock cap normally, which I replaced out, and then these string perches tend to pop off quite a bit because you have just kind of extra slack here on the shock. That's not abnormal, but what is weird is that these, sort of three-prong design, not a big fan of that. So yeah, overall design-wise, I'm going to give it an average score. It had some pluses, like the really easy to work on differential. You can just basically pop off the transmission. Has all the sway bars that you want, all the adjustments you want with like adjustable hub height, adjustable spindle height, adjustable diff height. So it's nice to see it basically has all the modern adjustments that you would find in today's buggies and stadium trucks. But yeah, a few things I don't like, especially the shocks, not a big fan of. So overall, I'm going to give the design an average score, 3 stars out of 5. Some pluses, some minuses. Kind of a quirky design, and if you're not used to Schumachers, you might think things are a little bit odd, but yeah, some things I like and some things I don't. So overall, it kind of averages out to 3 stars. So the big category is performance, and so obviously I set this up as a carpet car, which has a nice little setup in the back of the manual. I think it's a Jorn Norman carpet setup. Works really well. I did make some minor changes to the shocks. I added the rear sway bar, but overall, yeah, drives really well. I also tried different batteries, different tires, and it performed pretty well with a lot of different changes. So overall, I think this thing drives fantastically. A lot of steering, a lot of traction, not too many issues really with traction rolling. So that's always, nice to see on a carpet car that you don't have too much traction that it rolls. Just some little adjustments I made. There are some option parts I think you will want to pick up, like the titanium top shaft, the rear sway bars, probably different sets of springs and stuff. Yeah, and unfortunately the front end, they already have the stiffest sway bar. I would have liked them to maybe provide or have an option to get a thicker sway bar, because I think there's still some tuning I could be done to improve this. But yeah, overall the performance is really good. Jumps and lands really nicely. Maybe you want to check out the shock package a little bit, but I upped the oil a little bit now. Drives and lands really, really well. So like I mentioned, I already had the 22T 4.0 and the T6.1, but I was driving those on dirt, and this I've only driven on carpet, so hard to compare exactly apples to apples, but this thing drives fantastically. I think for carpet, AstroTurf, you know, this is definitely one of the top choices out there. I can't imagine really anything driving too much better than this because it drives really, really nicely. If there's one thing Schumacher does well, it does make really good carpet and AstroTurf vehicles. So in the performance category, I can only really rate this on carpet because that's where I drove it, but I'm going to give it a full 5 stars. Really no complaints about how it drives, just does everything I want. Easy to drive, doesn't do anything too weird, jumps and lands really well. So yeah, overall performance gets 5 stars. Durability is always important for stadium trucks because you got the really long arms, you got the really long turnbuckles. Overall, really broke a couple things. I broke the front camber block and I broke the bottom hinge pin brace, basically on one really bad crash where I launched this straight up in the air and it basically dropped out of the sky at like 5 feet and like landed straight into a cinder block. So I did break those 2 pieces, but nothing else really broke. Kind of surprising. The arms, the sway bars, nothing else broke, no shock tires or anything. So was actually surprised at how durable this thing has been because I've taken some nasty crashes and usually like turnbuckles or arms or spindle carriers or something will break, but yeah, this thing's been super durable. Body also has really held up really well. It's like a nice thick full weight body, so no issues with the wing breaking or the body or anything cracking. So yeah, overall durability on the above average side. I'm going to give it 4 stars. I think the S2 material up front may be a little weak. I'm not totally sure. Didn't seem like super thick or anything, so I think a front aluminum camber block might be a good idea. That's something I always ran on my associated buggies as well, so not a bad idea, especially on carpet where, you know, all the jumps are made out of like plywood and stuff. So yeah, overall I think durability is above average. I'm going to give it 4 stars. So Schumacher is a smaller brand here in the United States for sure. I'm sure in the UK it's much easier and faster to get parts. Maybe hobby shops and stuff over there carry Schumacher parts. But here in the United States where I live, yeah, pretty much you're not going to be able to find Schumacher parts at your local hobby shop. So you will generally want to buy stuff online like I do from Discount RC Store. So in the support side, a little bit on the smaller side because, or below average side, because it is harder to get parts. Now one thing I'll say on the support side is that they do tend to offer a lot of setup sheets. So with your Cougar laydown, if you want a setup, there's like 20 or 30 ones listed on their website. So definitely a lot of options for setup sheets generally. I'm sure this one's brand new, so there's only a few setups out there, but for me, you know, they were working pretty well and I'm sure they will add more. Now on the maintenance side, this is probably one of the easiest buggies to work on, or I'm sorry, stadium trucks to work on. Easy access to everything, nothing too weird about how things are laid out. The transmission is sort of that split design, 3-piece design, just pops off really easily. Hinge pin just has like 2 screws here holding on the back brace, so really easy to get access to. You don't even have to remove the transmission or anything. So overall, yeah, vehicle is easy to work on, easy access to everything. Even the ESC tray, you can just use 2 screws and basically remove the tray if you want to remove your electronics. So maintenance side, above average, I think, because not every vehicle has a split transmission, stuff like the TLR. I think maybe even the X-Ray, not totally sure. Still has the 2-piece transmission, but yeah, on the maintenance side, above average. But on the support side, I think a little bit below average, so it kind of averages out to an average score. I'm going to give 3 stars in the support and maintenance category. You know, nothing super special, nothing really bad. The Storm ST sells for $399 here in the United States. A little bit on the pricey side. You've got the X-Ray XT2, which is a little bit more, I think at like $410 or $420. You've got the Associate and TLR, and I think the Yokomo are a little bit on the cheaper side, sort of in like the $340 to $370 price range. So a little bit on the pricier side. So I'm going to give it 2 stars in the value category. It does have some really nice machine parts. I think even like the screw quality, the metal quality is above average. The plastics are about average, not super anything special with the plastics, but yeah, there's a little bit on the pricier side. The parts are all in bags rather than on parts trees. It does come with wheels, so that's nice to see, but you know, I'm not sure I'm really seeing that $40–50 price difference. There is no carbon fiber on this vehicle either, so you know, not that carbon fiber is necessarily the most important thing, but yeah, I'm not seeing the extra price there. So overall, yeah, I'm going to give it a below average score in the value category, 2 stars, a little bit on the pricier side. So final thoughts on the Schumacher Storm ST. I'm really happy to see that they came out with a brand new stadium truck. They haven't done that in a really long time, and stadium trucks are super fun to drive, super fun to race. So I am a fan of stadium trucks, so I'm really glad that they finally decided to come out with this. I wish they would have included all the latest updates like the hinge pins and stuff like they have on the Cougar laydown, but you know, this is a very good vehicle overall. Performance is really good, especially on carpet or AstroTurf. I can't imagine too much else there that is going to be faster than this. This is a really good carpet car. Schumacher obviously are experts in the artificial surfaces. Have no idea how this drives on dirt, unfortunately. There are no dirt tracks nearby that I can drive this on. So I'm really just reviewing this from a carpet perspective. But yeah, overall, good performance, actually great performance, good durability. Design and some of the other categories, I kind of feel like they're average, nothing, you know, super special about this vehicle. So in terms of what I recommend people buy this, yes, if you're driving on a carpet AstroTurf, I definitely think this is one of the ones to consider. The other ones like the TLR or the Associate are generally pretty much designed for dirt, and so to get a carpet set, it will cost you a little bit more money getting gear discs and sway bars and you know, stuff like that that may not be fully designed out of the box to run carpet and AstroTurf, extra weights. So yeah, it kind of depends, I think, on what you drive on. If you're running on artificial surfaces, you're going to get better setups. You're going to get, you know, a little bit more speciality, I think, for those artificial surfaces, for those higher traction surfaces. Obviously, Schumacher tires are also excellent, so that'll work pretty well. If you're running on dirt, I have no idea how this thing drives, but the TLR and the AE are probably going to be a little bit cheaper to run and have more dirt specific setups. So that's the other big part about picking a vehicle, is to make sure you have setups that will match the type of surface you're running on. So, you know, TLR, for example, doesn't tend to run on carpet a whole lot, so you're not going to find a whole lot of carpet setups for like a 22T 4.0. Whereas the Schumacher, you're going to find tons of AstroTurf and carpet setups, maybe not as much on the dirt surface. So yeah, to me, it pretty much depends on where you're running. Carpet AstroTurf, I think this is an excellent vehicle. I'm really happy with this. I'm thinking about getting a T6.2, have not fully decided. If you want me to get one of those and review it, put down a comment below. But yeah, as for now, this is the only stadium truck I own, and I think it drives fantastic. Really happy with it. Durability has been very good as well. That's always one of my major concerns with stadium trucks, because they do tend to break a little bit because you got the really long arms and really high leverage when you crash into things. It tends to like shear things or break turnbuckle and stuff. But yeah, durability wise, have no issues. So overall, yeah, a little bit on the pricier side, so you kind of have to want it a little bit more. But for carpet, for AstroTurf, I think it's hard to find a better vehicle, and I would have to try other vehicles to know for sure. But yeah, this is definitely a contender. So those are my thoughts. Hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely hit the like, share, subscribe button. Look for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.